Xigua. And here we go. In the top left-hand position, as the blue Zerg, it is Xigua. And spawning in the bottom right-hand position, it is the red Terran Major. Actually, switch over to your screen. You're going to be casting most of this because for some reason my mod is broken.
Okay. So, we see...
I gotcha.
Cool, thank you. So we see that Major spawning in the bottom right, and he's actually going for a quick SCV scout. But I don't think this is an SCV scout, Andre. I think he's going to make a proxy barracks. So I know we just talked about him playing macro games and not cheesing much, but maybe he does have a cheesy bone in his body. Except
Maybe so.
Maybe
Except
this
there
is
was
just
a drone scout that
Is he
was
going to
looking for
eBay
him.
block? Oh, he is going to eBay block.
So this is so major too. Like we talked about, he is a macro style player, and he's cheesing in like a macro way, right? He's just saying, "Don't get your expansion all too quickly, and I can get a quick advantage." Especially if Xigua doesn't understand the variations and how he actually transitions from here. But Mike, how does he transition from here?
Well, there's a couple different things you can do. One, you can just send the drone and take your third base instead of your natural, because he's not going to eBay block both of them. Usually you get the spawning pool first, and then you go take the third instead of the natural, and then you'll take the natural as soon as you can. Major should expect this though, because this is kind of the typical response. You don't have much else that you can do against it. So we'll have to see how Major wants to follow this up. Sometimes quick Hellions can be pretty good, because obviously their bases are more spread out, it's easier to do damage. Sometimes you can try something else, maybe a barracks push. We'll have to see what Major has in mind.
I would kind of feel like Hellion is the normal way to go from this, just because you can't really get a good barracks block off. I understand the mass barracks, marine attack, but normally you use those barracks in the same vein to block off your walls so you're defensive against any Baneling all-ins. But I don't think we're going to see any of that. Command center being dropped down. And as it stands, just very passive play from Major.
Yeah, we'll have to see though. I think he has some kind of follow-up in mind, because usually when you do this kind of opening, you don't just want to play a passive game, because you're trying to get some advantage from it that you can actually use.
Yeah.
And if you just play completely passive and let Zerg take the third base as soon as they kill the eBay, then they can kind of just catch up and
Sure.
not even be behind. So,
Are there any all-ins that Major should be worried about right now that Zerg can do?
well, I guess Zerg could do like a speedling Baneling bust, or they could make roaches, but you're not too afraid of them because you have this SCV scout that he's going to send in now, see what's up. Not any more afraid than normal, I'd say, unless
Okay.
they don't take the third base at all. And then obviously, you know, it's a one-base Zerg, so something's coming, but...
Sure. SCV gets in here, sees exactly what he needs to see. The double extractors not being put down or anything like that. Although there are some cheeses that involve double extractors, still, they're very inefficient. As it stands right now, we have just the regular expansion coming out for Major. Everything else looks very, very standard. Double refinery following this, so he will be getting his factory and his reactor on his barracks pretty soon here. Of course, he wants to switch out. We'll see if he tries to go for the third command center. He is pulling a lot of gas right now. Factory will go down, and it looks like he's just probably going to go for an expansion after that. Look, he actually pulls SCVs off of his gas. He's only mining 4 SCVs worth of gas right now.
Yeah, and we see he is actually pushing across the map with a couple Marines. He might be too scared to actually push out any farther and just stop.
But still makes a lot of sense because he knows his opponent can't have speed.
Yeah, he knows there's obviously no speed on the map for quite a while since he saw no gases when he scouted the main base of Xigua. So we'll have to see what he wants to do. I like how he's moving out these Marines, chasing the Zerglings back, making sure there's no overlords just near the middle of the map. And it kind of makes Zerg a little bit scared.
Yeah, definitely so. Third command center has been placed already, so he's going for a very economic opening from here. A starport going down right after this, so it will be a Hellion Banshee play that's going to follow this up. You know, Hellion Banshee, I feel like this was the thing to do in Wings of Liberty, and I really haven't seen it all that much. I mean, it pops up here and there, don't get me wrong, in Heart of the Swarm, but why has it been on the decline so much? Is it just because of Widow Mines being so much better, or is it stylistic?
Mostly because of the Spore Crawler change. Not needing an Evolution Chamber to make a Spore helps a lot against the Quick Banshees. Because normally you're not going to have Evolution Chambers when the first Cloak Banshees come out, unless you scouted the Cloak Banshee tech. So you can be in a lot of trouble. But these days, you see the Banshees halfway across the map, you start a couple of Spores, and they're finished by the time the Banshees get up to your base.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense. From here, Hellions are going to just graze by a couple of Zerglings here, will get a couple of kills, and just back off there, retaining his health. The Marines. Overlord will get in and see the third command center. That's probably one of the most important things that you can see. Was it able to see, though, the starport? That's the big question that we really have to look at. And let's just see. Just go over to his base.
Oh,
he doesn't see it. He doesn't see it at all. Wow. So really surprising there. That's a little bit of an advantage because these Banshees will be a much bigger surprise once they kind of get in here. Queens should have been made in response to this, and they were made. I don't know how he actually read this, but he will have 2 extra Queens to deal with this as the Hellions will start to engage against the other Queens that are spreading creep.
But he's going to kill these 2 Queens, and that's well, one of the Queens, I guess he's too scared to go into the creep any further. But that's a nice pick off, and the other Queen's so weakened that a Banshee can pick it off in 2 or 3 shots. This will help him a lot.
Yeah, definitely so. From here, it's just a waiting game. Now the Banshee starts to get into the third base. There are 2 Queens there, but he's going to pick off the weakened Banshee that had enough energy to transfuse. Now picking up a couple of drones here, but still hasn't geared up or hasn't joined up with his Hellions. The Hellions actually went back all the way to the natural base. It looks like Major might be a little bit scared about something, just protecting against some sort of all-in or counterattack while all this is happening. I don't mind that at all, since the Banshee is getting a great scout and finding everything that's happening. But oh my goodness, Michael goes to user Dobler. What do we have in the production tab? 2 factories. This will be mech. So unorthodox. I understand on Echelon Waste it makes a lot of sense, but we barely see mech being played TVZ.
Yeah, mech honestly isn't that good in TVZ. The main advantage of this build, though, is that you can kind of catch the Zerg off guard with it. Because no one does mech, no one expects mech, and you can see double Zergling upgrades in production for Xigua.
Oh,
and
the worst upgrades right now.
Yeah, you're still actually okay if you can scout it in time, because mech isn't actually that good in the opinion of most pro gamers. But if he doesn't scout it until after that 1-1 is done, then he's in a little bit of trouble, actually.
Yeah, a lot of bit of trouble. Because Hellbats are on the way. And look at that, in the production tab, 28 Zerglings popping out here. Hellions getting into a great position, and Xigua looking to lose a lot of drones and units from this engagement.
Yeah, he needs to surround those Hellions before they get in this position, because now he's losing so much. And even though a lot of it's just Zerglings, he's investing a lot of larva and a lot of money into these wings that he's losing.
Right, and the Fallout push could be proving to be catastrophic here. Hellbats and Thors being popped out here. 1-1 on the way. Yes, his count is very small as it stands, but that small army will approach very fast. All you need to get is that core. Normally 4 Thors you could push out and only make Hellions after that, so they reinforce much faster, and you have the base of Hellbats to just help out so much. So as it stands, I think Major is in a prime position to win this game outright with the first push. We'll see if he's able to do that. Roach Warren and +1 missile attack going to be upgraded directly after this, along with a infestation pit. That's a very important thing to have. I think Neural Parasite is one of the best ways to really shut down a lot of meching players in the very early stages when you only have a couple of Thors.
Yeah, it can be so strong when the mech army isn't that big yet, but late game on this map it's not actually that good, because sometimes Terran can play passively and just take 4 bases and take up to the Raven mech army, and then you can't do much with the Neural Parasite. But Major, he might be going for that push style. We'll have to see. He hasn't started a 4th command center yet.
4th base has been taken for Xigua, but no gases yet on there. He's just saturating or resaturating yet again. Let's take a look at the income tab. 71 harvesters to 83 in favor of Xigua. He's at a pretty high harvester count. Against mech, that could prove to be a little bit dicey. And as you can see in the supplies, 147 supply to 127. From here, Major has just been producing units. Like, he's going for this big timing to just end the game.
Yeah, I think he should start a 4th base behind it, but he's probably not... Okay, here it comes now. But I think he's going to do a big push when he gets to about 200 supply. You don't want to push too much before that, or the Zerg army can usually be bigger than yours and just win.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if that actually happens. Creep spread is continuing on here. Just looking at the production tab, 3 swarm hosts are underway, along with those prolonged locust timings to give them a little bit more. But still, it just looks like Xigua is minutes behind, maybe a minute, 2 minutes behind of his opponent, and that's why this push is going to be so much stronger. I really, really am worried for Xigua. I don't know how he's going to be able to do this because he's looking to have just raw power in his army, and he doesn't have that because he's so far behind from that first Hellion engagement.
Yeah, Major is committing a lot to this push, though. He has to get something done with it, because if this doesn't work, he doesn't have any Ravens in production, he doesn't have any more than 1 starport, so his only transition is to keep making mech units and try another push. And once Vipers are out, you can't do too much with this mech army.
That's very true. And it's important to note that the swarm host count is growing and growing and growing, and if it gets out of hand, all of a sudden, Major never ever wants to engage against this, and now he has this big, fat army on the ground that he can't do anything. He's going to start sieging up on the 4th base, though, and he's in range of a lot of stuff. Swarm Host and Locust getting in here, doing a little bit of damage, but will be just pushed back. And it's nice that he actually incorporates SCVs with this army. Zerging's going to swing in from behind, but do absolutely nothing. And this is just getting from bad to worse, Mike.
Yeah, there's not enough Swarm Host on the map yet. Swarm Host aren't actually that good against mech until you have Vipers out. Because once you have a decent siege tank count, the Locusts just evaporate as soon as they spawn, and they're only killing the Hellbats, they're not killing the important army units.
Yeah, and this just looks like a silly fight almost for Xigua, and it's because of how strong mech can be if you're doing these timings, and especially getting so many kills in the beginning stage. I think mech is probably the most reliable way to win if you are very far ahead. But I agree, when you're in like the even positions, it can get pretty difficult.
Yeah, if you're even, then the Zerg can do a build that kind of counters it. But Xigua, I'm not sure what he was thinking this game. He made about 5 Mutalisks, didn't do too much. He made some Swarm Hosts, but he made a late Hive. And usually what you want to do against mech is rush the Hive as quickly as you can, because Vipers completely shut mech down.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter what units you have with the Vipers, any units in Vipers kind of shuts mech down.
Attack over at the 4th base of Major, but this is going to get shut down to not only the Planetary Fortress, but also the Hellbats that are incoming. An engagement in the center of the map is going to end with all the Locusts just doing 0 work, literally 0. And we can't forget about the upgrades, 2-2 against 1-1. That definitely helps out Major quite a bit here. 4th base will not be destroyed, just probably a single refinery, but from that, I mean, Major is so cost efficient. Units lost tab. Look at that beauty right there. 12,000 to 4,000.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
That's not a good ratio for the Zerg to have in CVT.
No.
I think a lot of this is due to Xigua making Swarm Host, but not making enough Swarm Host. If you're using Swarm Host against mech, you want to make a lot of them. Just now he's approaching about 15 Swarm Host, I think.
Is that
and you
enough?
have to have... No, it's not enough. You need about 24 to combat mech, unless you have Vipers.
Well, here it is. The engagement is coming in. Hellbats already getting into position. Locust will spawn. Is it going to be enough, though? They are tanking a lot of damage. Scan goes down, uprooting the Swarm Host. They will drop back until they can redo another round of Locust, but it looks like a constant maxed army for Major will maintain. All of the siege tanks were unhindered throughout that fight, but this is where the Locust can get a couple of good kills here. Still haven't touched the siege tank line, though.
Yeah, I wish there was some way that we could see how many non-Hellion and Hellbat units Major's lost this game, because I don't think it's been too many.
Yeah, and those are the major ones because, well, they cost gas. They're the limiting. Gas is the limiting factor when it comes into this. Hellbats, they're pretty cheap, but here it is. The engagement will happen. A couple of siege tanks will go down, maybe starting to fend this off, but a single Thor is gunning down the 4th base while there's a drop inside the main base. Everything looks great for Major as he's continuing his aggression and even dropping back with his main army, attacking the bottom left-hand base with a single siege tank. This is like StarCraft Brood War-esque. It's crazy.
It is, and behind this, I think Major is transitioning. He's getting upgrades for his air units, he's getting high-stick auto-tracking, he's making more command centers.
Yeah.
And just lots of action going on all around the map.
Locusts in the middle of the map will start sieging up a little bit on the position outside. The natural command center will have to be canceled or killed here. And it does get killed. Locust probably won't be able to do that much more damage, though. Thor going to take out this 4th base. I love this type of attack. Man, Thor's DPS is so extremely large. You're able to kill these hatcheries and these production structures so fast, or not production structures, but you know what I mean, the like roach warren or whatever it might be. But a big pickup by all of these medevacs. Where are they going to go? That's the big question. This is
unusual.
Yeah, to say the least.
I actually haven't seen TVZ mech played like this with so many medevacs to carry his entire army around the map.
Yeah.
Usually you see some to carry some Hellbats around, but he has, I'm not sure how many that is, he has about 12 medevacs right now with his mech.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Now Roach is going to get hammered away here. Not all the units have been unloaded, but they slowly are. And you can see there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the micro. The Locusts aren't keeping up with the rest of the army. Thor able to take out what looks like a spawning pool all the way back at home, and now eliminate the 4th base. Infestor is going to be taken out, and again picking up and going for the 3rd base now. There's barely any economy for the Zerg player, and Infestor is just walking directly into mech without the energy upgrade. This is GG. There it is.
That was interesting. I don't think Xigua knew